Also, the interaction between the organization and its environment. Each action changes the relationship between the organization and its environment, and strategy continuously evaluates how needs being met by the organization are changing. So an organization may release certain apps in the market, but the consumer needs may continue to change. And that's because of the environmental factors. Therefore, the organization also has to respond to that. Therefore, it creates an interaction of the organization with its environment. If the needs are changing, and also depends on who is competing to meet the same needs, and whether there are better ways of meeting those needs, whether the size of the existing needs is changing, whether new needs are emerging, whether organization services and products are still adequate to meet needs in the environment. If not, how they will need to change, and whether new capabilities are evolved that will change the organization's business model. So there is a continuous play of factors by which the organization cannot remain standstill. They have to move all the time because of the environmental changes, such as customer preference changes or technology changes, etc. Now, this environmental analysis, how it will be useful? That should be the key question to ask. This analysis helps the organization to identify and articulate the purpose of the organization, because they have a better understanding of the situation, the nature of the interactions of the organization with its environment, the products and services it offers, and the needs fulfilled by each. It also clarifies exactly what they are doing right now, and then the size of the needs it will fulfill eventually. The constraints will be understood, the external constraints on the organization, such as certain regulation, what capabilities they will need, and how they will organize themselves to fulfill their purpose or the business model. And do they need to cooperate with others? That will also be understood. So if you look at the Itil story example, their environmental analysis of the external factors such as pestle and other tools, and internal ones also, such as the 4-dimension analysis and other ones, such as skills matrix, etc. So Anya, the CEO, is saying that no organization exists in a vacuum. Our products and services are available in many countries, and we source staff, equipment, and other services from around the world. We need to be sensible and practical when drafting our business strategy to reflect internal and external challenges. We use a variety of tools and models to help us analyze our internal and external circumstances. Our starting point is often a simple pestle analysis. COO Dave, the countries, societies, and economies we operate in providing opportunities and demand. The countries, societies, and economies we operate provide opportunities and demand, but they can also shape how we work. For example, we need to consider how we would collect payment in a country without a high degree of adoption of credit cards. Anya, and now we are expanding to meet a new opportunity with the food delivery service. We must also be mindful of other things such as food safety. So now we have the digital readiness assessment. So this is providing a starting point for defining a digital strategy. It builds understanding of what it takes to prepare for digital transformation. Yeah, for example, the funding aspects, the cultural aspects, how to structure the organization, what capabilities are required, what roles and skills are required. So the readiness assessment is not just a report. It is a continual because of the faster digital strategy cycles. It should consider and also prioritize the key things from the assessment and make decisions also. And the output here will be a detailed set of strategic objectives, list of initiatives, and prioritized by their linkage to the vision. So what is the current state and the constraints of the organization? And what principles are required, what policies are required? And so that afterwards the more detailed planning can be done based on those principles and policies, and by understanding the current state and constraint, and by understanding the objectives and the vision, the detailed planning can be done. So how it is done, the readiness assessment, that is evaluating the current capabilities. So what needs to be evaluated? 6 areas: the digital positioning and the current strategy. So we learned the digital positioning earlier. That need to be done, that mapping need to be done, and the strategy need to be understood, the current strategy, rather than the new one which is being developed, the existing value streams and practices, how information technology is being used, how is the organizational development and learning, risk and innovation aspects. There could be many more, but these are the 6 which are proposed here. So if you look at the story here, Dave, the 4 dimensions of service management in Itil provide a good model to use when initiating reviews of internal capabilities. We know that already. We also have to acknowledge and account for subtle differences and nuances at different levels or parts of the organization, such as risk appetite or a desire to innovate. There can be silos in the organization. Some departments may be innovative, some not. Those need to be also be considered. So how to do that? A gap analysis. So previously we understood which areas will be assessed, but one of the method is a gap analysis, which is a quite common tool available. Identify the gap between the current situation and desired future state. Identify practical actions to close the gap, depending on the various situations. The report should define clearly the desired future state or the objectives, and the current state should be clarified against each objective. For example, is one of the objective is to go into online mode. Then what is the current situation? Which will tell the organization, are they ready to go to the online mode? Because it's a readiness assessment. Description of what is needed to achieve the future state, actions required to close the gap between current and future state. So this is simple, straightforward. So in this case, for the Axle car, Dave's thought is that it is important to remember that a gap analysis is a snapshot of a moment in time. It's not a permanent gap analysis. The moment we act to correct the gap or to execute our strategy, we change ourselves and the environment we work in. So because so many organizations are trying to close their gap, it is changing the ecosystem maybe. So more and more gaps start emerging. As a result, the gap changes, sometimes in unexpected ways. We may narrow the gap, but introduce new challenges in other areas. As a result, we have tasked Sue and Luna to generate a new gap analysis for the food delivery venture every 3 months to make sure we stay on top of a potentially volatile environment. Or volatile means rapidly fluctuating. Sue, the product manager for the travel part. The Itil business analysis and knowledge management practices provide Axle car hire with many useful skills, information, and tools to rapidly conduct gap analysis as we iterate our products and services. Generally, gap analysis is a business analysis practice which goes into detail on how it should be done, by which requirements are understood and solutions are proposed. The most cost-effective solutions are also proposed. But that can be done only when the gap is understood.